Arx is a simple dude stuck living with a crazy Yandere villainess, infamous for her outrageous misdeeds. Before this wild turn of events, our boy was just an ordinary guy in Japan, living his best life and playing his favorite game known as Otome. For reasons he still doesn't understand, he was suddenly pulled into that very game, forced to live as a background character who never even appears in the main storyline. In this new world, his life begins as an orphan living a carefree life in an orphanage. If he'd been born as the protagonist, he might have ended up with incredible magic powers or countless golden opportunities. But as a filler background character, he's just another powerless guy. Still, being less fortunate didn't stop him from living a good life. With no digital media or internet to waste time on, he found other ways to keep himself entertained, like sparring and training with his fellow kids. One day, after beating an adult in a match, the orphanage director approaches Arx, praising his skill and hoping he might become a knight. Arx finds the idea impossible, since such a position is out of reach for a commoner like him. Later, however, the director asks him for a favor, and together they travel to a luxurious mansion. In a lavish lounge, a man named Adalbert, the count who governs the region, introduces himself. Nervously, Arx does the same. The director then explains to the count that Arx is the child they had spoken about, admitting that while the boy has some flaws, he is more than capable. The count acknowledges Arx's abilities and reveals the reason he summoned him. He would like Arx to become a friend to his daughter. Arx is taken aback. Why would a powerful noble want an orphan to befriend his daughter? He wonders if perhaps the girl is a troublemaker or suffers from some kind of illness. His thoughts are cut short when Adalbert's daughter, Eleanor Asenes, enters the lounge. Arx immediately recognizes her. She is the villainess of the game, infamous for setting up curses and tormenting the heroine out of sheer malice, the final boss of the story. Unable to refuse, Arx soon finds himself sent out to the garden with Eleanor so they can bond. Though expressionless, she is the most beautiful girl he has ever seen. The count informs him beforehand that she is the same age as him, but her silence convinces Arx that she has no interest in him. When he suggests they return to the mansion, she finally speaks, calling herself cursed. She assumes he wouldn't want to be around her. No one ever does. Children her age are terrified of her, calling her cursed and soulless. Because she is a noble, some try to curry favor, but behind their polite words are only hateful glances. As she confides in Arx, Eleanor touches a plant in the garden. At once, dark energy ripples out, startling him. The plant withers and dies instantly. She explains that the same thing happens with people, which is why everyone believes she is cursed. Arx is struck by the thought that even a noble's child has had to endure such suffering. If this is the reality, then perhaps his role is to become her friend, to save her, and to change her fate. Maybe this is why he was reincarnated in the first place. Determined, Arx blurts out that he doesn't find her scary at all. In fact, he thinks she is beautiful. For the first time, Eleanor blushes at his kindness, though she still worries that her power will hurt others. But while her touch causes plants to wither, Arx discovers that his own ability can make them bloom again. He promises her that he'll stand by her side and help her discover a better way to use her power. With that vow, he asks her to be his friend. Eleanor had a difficult childhood, as she was feared by her own mother and others, who called her a devil. Haunted by nightmares, the villainess woke abruptly, finding the main lead by her side. Noticing her distress, he instantly comforted her, recognizing that she had been having a nightmare. The way he cared for her made Eleanor wonder if he truly wanted to be her friend. Arx's kindness and gentleness soothed her, and in that moment, she simply hoped she could stay by his side as a friend. Earlier in the garden, the villainess had suggested that Arx would be unhappy with someone like her, since she might end up hurting him as well. But the MC knew that at some point in life, everyone hurts others. So, grabbing her by the arms, he made it clear that he truly wanted her. Now back in the bedroom, Eleanor felt grateful to finally have someone she could call a friend, as she had never even had an ally before. She wondered if she could ever be as good a friend to him as he was to her. The protagonist explained that friendships take many different forms, and that once she started socializing and communicating with others, she would come to understand how it all worked. To make her feel comfortable, Arx decided to take things slowly. But a few weeks later, Eleanor was drawn to him like a bee to honey. She began talking endlessly, which shocked him at first since she had always been so quiet. Still, he found her chatter very cute. While he thought about this, Eleanor grew upset at his silence. But the moment Arx told her that nothing was more important than her, she melted like butter. Just as Ellen was asking him about his choice of clothes, Adalbert approached, hoping to have a moment with him. The villainess became visibly angry, though she tried to act indifferent, assuming Arx wasn't paying attention. But her eyes widened in shock when, before leaving, he leaned closer to her ear and whispered that she would look pretty in anything. Later, at the Count's office, Adalbert informed Arx that his request had been approved. He would become part of the Anchinese household. With that, the Count handed him a uniform, explaining that the MC would be taking on a job, which would also spare him the trouble of commuting. Arx had no intention of relying on Adalbert's authority. His thought process, especially at the age of 7, greatly impressed the Count. With that, Arx left, promising to fulfill his duty. Knowing that the villainess would be upset, Arx went straight to her room, where she sat waiting angrily. But the weight on her shoulders slowly eased when he knelt before her, took her hand, and apologized for being late. Then, with polite resolve, he informed her that from this day on, he would serve as her attendant. 3 years had passed since Arx started working in the noble household. The household was currently busy preparing for a party to celebrate Eleanor turning 10, which was tomorrow. Nanai, who had been working tirelessly for this event, arrived at our boy's room, informing him about the preparations being overseen by him. Arx was looking forward to this party, as it was his first time attending a nobles' gathering. The people of the mansion, including Nanai, were impressed because the protagonist not only had great ideas, but also took the initiative and acted himself. However, all the things he did were simply to make Eleanor happy, since this was their first extravagant party together. Even after being exhausted, the MC went off to do some training with his stone sword, using healing magic to overcome his fatigue. Later that night, after finishing his training session, he decided he was done for the day. He was surprised when Eleanor appeared and revealed she had been watching him for a while. Worried, our boy approached her, afraid she might catch a cold, but she assured him that he would warm her up. Upon hearing this, and not catching the hint, Arx began thinking of a spell to start a fire or raise body temperature, though that was something Eleanor could easily do herself. The villainess, however, seemed upset, as the protagonist had not been able to give her much time recently, and as her servant, he should always be by her side. Taking her hand in his, Arx admitted that he was only busy preparing for her big day. While walking back to the castle, out of curiosity, Ellen wondered aloud if our boy was ever lonely without her. But, being dense, he explained that he never felt lonely among all the servants, and the Count was very kind to him. This disappointed her. Upset, the villainess headed back alone, leaving our boy confused about what he had done wrong. The next day, all the nobles had gathered, and Adalbert welcomed them warmly. Before the event, the Count had warned our boy to eliminate any insects who tried to get close to his daughter. In the grand hall, Arx's gaze landed on 2 boys of the same age as him. They looked very familiar, but before he could recognize them, they noticed him staring. Eventually, Eleanor arrived, and his attention immediately shifted toward her. As she walked down, all eyes turned to Eleanor, while her gaze was fixed on Arx. The MC was captivated by her beauty, but then Nanai suddenly called for him, confusing Arx. She was supposed to be guarding Eleanor, but things had taken a turn. Now, on the stage, Arx found himself sitting beside Eleanor. Our boy was incredibly nervous, feeling the weight of everyone's eyes drilling into him. Seeing him like this, the villainess grew concerned, but since it was her doing, she couldn't say much. What had actually happened was that Eleanor wanted Arx by her side, as he was supposed to be her attendant. Even when Arx tried to make her understand that he was just a servant, she refused to hear it. She wanted to celebrate Arx as well, since he was the same age as her, yet no one ever celebrated his birthday. Because the MC didn't actually know his own birthday, he realized that was why the castle staff kept asking about his age. This made him understand why Eleanor had placed him beside her as an equal guest of honor. Seeing her beautiful heart, the protagonist couldn't believe she could ever turn into a final boss. Arx expressed his gratitude for the honor, but told her that just having her celebrate for him would already be more than enough. Hearing this, the villainess agreed to celebrate her birthday, because after that, they would be celebrating for Arx. Out of nowhere, our boy recalled those 2 familiar guys, hoping nothing would happen, while someone quietly stared at Arx and Eleanor from afar.